It's all good, man. Hey, it's all good, man. It's all good, man. Hey, it's all good, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is It's All Good, Man, the Better Call Saul podcast. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is Luscious Dave. Dave, how you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good. My Cubbies just hit a walk-off grand slam to win the ball game.
Gotcha, Cubs. I get stuff. I get it.
They did it earlier in the year, and it had been like 50 years since it happened, and they just did it again like a month later.
And that's not even due to my ignorance of sports that I didn't get that. Just for some reason, my brain didn't connect there, even though it was like the most obvious thing ever.
Cubbies, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of It's All Good, Man. Glad to be here. It's a little late here in Chicago, but that's okay. Dave and I are going to chat with you about episode 402, titled what, Dave?
Breathe.
Yes,
which
indeed.
I couldn't do after watching that baseball or listening to the baseball game.
No. Real quick before we jump in, Dave, what did you think about this episode?
I was kind of thinking that Nacho's not the only one with some uncharacteristic qualities happening. It seems like they're taking some characters in some unexpected directions in the way they're reacting to some situations.
Awesome.
Maybe contrived, maybe natural. I don't know how people react in stressful situations because I don't get stressed out.
All right. Well,
it's a total lie. I do.
You get a little on edge sometimes.
I get flustered. I can get flustered.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Fair assessment of the episode. Yeah. We could chat more about that as we go through. So
that was the plan. That's called the foreshadowing.
Nice. We'll go ahead and give you 1 point for that. Good job. Good job for foreshadowing. We'll give you a point. All right, so we open up with Hector's EKG machine, and we kind of talked about this in preview with the prior, which was out earlier today. I'm assuming by the time people are listening to this, Dave, if you get on the stick,
that's on me. That's on me. Busy week.
Yeah, so Monday morning, which theoretically is this morning of people listening to it, but tomorrow morning as we record this, I kind of talked about in preview with the prior that I'd like to see it open up like just seconds after Jimmy's filling the fish tank and whistling Dixie while Hamlin's heart is breaking. But we didn't get that. We got Hector basically on a hotel stretcher, right?
In his room. He's in his room being examined.
What a hotel stretcher? What the fuck is that? I mean, a hospital stretcher. Yeah, totally.
Hospital bed.
Mm-hmm.
Hospital bed.
Right. Hospital bed. Thank you, sir.
Yes. There you go, sir.
Thank you.
Did you get what was happening right away? That was kind of interesting.
No, I didn't. Because you would think it would have been obvious because they carted away, Hector, but now I feel like I'm always thrown off because, right, like the first episode, apparently Jimmy and Kim's apartment was on fire, even though it really wasn't. So I thought it was it seems like it would be obvious that it'd be picking up with him at the hospital at first with the EKG machine. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, no, this might be another, like maybe this is just what they're doing this season is these completely like left field wipes or something, so right. I was skeptical. I was
kind of on it. I was like, okay, this is Hector's room. Mm-hmm. And then, the guy sneaking around in the dark. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is one hell of a second opinion.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening.
Why'd they scrape his feet? Was that just to see if he reacted?
That's what I thought. I thought it was a reflex test.
Yeah, and it might have been. But then my initial, I thought they were like swabbing his feet or something at first. I'm like, why would they do that? And then I was like, oh, maybe that was the back of the pen to see if he reacts. But it seemed a lot more methodical than just trying to test if somebody would react to it, right? It was like almost how a doctor would like take a, like swipe something because it was very deliberate and very methodical. So it seemed like it was like
almost
to me,
like taking a sample.
Yeah. It was like one of them was a doctor or something that's done that a million times before. So it was a lot more technical than just a henchman sitting in a dark room scraping somebody's feet to get a reaction. You know what I mean? So that's what threw me off before we found out what was really going on.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, why are they taking a sample of feet? Like, I don't understand. or you know, like I was like, I don't really get that, but I don't know. I mean, that was just my initial impression. So some other impressions I had is, one, if you look out the window, the hospital is conveniently located next to a McDonald's, which is nice.
Well, because when you're recovering from a trip to the hospital, the first thing you want to do is eat right.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And if there's anything
Healthy.
that national television has taught us, is that McDonald's is a healthy option.
Right, yeah, totally. You definitely go to McDonald's for the healthy meal. I'd like a healthy meal with large fries.
I want a healthy meal with extra nutrients. Supersize those omega-3s.
The other, I have two other thoughts. One of my main thoughts was when it panned out and you saw like the two henchmen standing in the window, and they shut off the pen light as the night nurses or night doctors like walk through.
The disorderlies.
Yeah, they're nice. What was their plan? Like, what was the game plan? From obviously the main plan is don't get caught, but what was their plan had those people had to come into that room for whatever reason?
I think the plan is just to rush them, I guess.
Like, if they walk through the door, I wonder if they're going to be like, I did not leave my keys here. Like, the damnedest thing. I thought I dropped my cell phone. I thought I left my phone charger. I had to come back and get it.
Why do you have a chart? Clipboard.
What?
I'm supposed to be here.
Let me ask you this, sir. Let me ask you why. Let me ask you why do you have a chart, sir? Huh? So you didn't expect that. And then lastly, okay, so everybody,
I'm getting poor connection.
Everybody talks about like
Brian,
Better Call Saul.
I'm getting poor connection.
Are you connected to Wi-Fi?
I am connected to Wi-Fi. You're freezing pretty good.
Well, I'm connected to Wi-Fi, and essentially, so I called you through FaceTime over the Wi-Fi. So if you're connected to Wi-Fi, it shouldn't be an issue.
I'm connected to Comcast, so it's probably the issue.
It's all good, man. Hey, it's all good, man.
You know what? And it's so clear now. I can hear that there's a cricket somewhere in your vicinity.
Well, you know what? That's just because we tell all these bad jokes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
we have a built-in sound effect for our bad jokes tonight.
Right. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Quick disclaimer, Dave and I had like a 5-minute technical hiccup there. So if I'm picking up halfway through a thought, my bad. But my last thought is everybody talks about how when Saul got introduced into Breaking Bad, he was in the desert and the whole, like, it wasn't me, it was Ignacio thing.
Yeah.
This is probably that. This whole poisoning of Hector and getting a stroke because of Nacho's pills.
Yeah.
This is probably the reason Saul says that. That's my prediction, and I feel like it might be the most obvious one, that somehow Saul gets involved, or Jimmy obviously gets involved in all this, and this is the exact circumstance that he's talking about when he's in the desert with Walt and Jesse.
I disagree.
So okay, just hear me out. I'm just saying, I feel like, so when he feels that he's being abducted with a bag over his head by Gus, who just put a bag over, over somebody's head to kill him, and he says it wasn't me, it was Ignacio, I say it comes back to this. That's what I think.
That's a bold prediction. I like it.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense anyway.
I like that a lot. I like that prediction a hell of a lot, actually. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's accurate. If this is the last season, then yeah, I can see that. Maybe. But I think it's going to be something more drug related. Because Saul, they don't even know who Saul is yet, right? Tuco does.
Right.
Because Tuco had to deal with him.
Right, but that doesn't mean that Jimmy can't gain knowledge of it and become a victim of circumstance. I'm just saying it'll come back to this. I'm just saying somehow, especially because Jimmy's kind of getting more brazen with his criminal activity, right?
Yeah.
Like it went from kind of like mischief to Well, I don't know. I guess he's just being more emboldened and kind of becoming more of the character that we all know, right? So I'm just saying my prediction would be is this is the thing that he thinks is being pinned on him, is this whole situation. It all comes back to this.
Okay. I like it.
Okay. Opening credits. The Lawyer Up car. So I watched it, and it had the Cadillac with the Lawyer Up license plate and shit. But not only was it more black and white, it seemed like the screen vertical hold rolled more than it typically does too.
Ah.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty obvious whenever they just decide that they're done with all this, the last season, everything's going to be black and white and super shitty like on a VCR. Then we pick back up like the morning after Hamlin's confession and such, and we see Jimmy's actually in super high spirits after Hamlin's visit. He's got job interviews lined up, apparently.
Yeah.
Kim is pretty perplexed by his behavior, I feel.
Well, I like the Jack LaLanne juicer he's got going on, because remember when juicing was like the big thing back in the aughts.
Right. Yeah. It's very time accurate, I guess you could say.
And this
period accurate.
This was my moment of like, God damn it, that scene with Howard confessing didn't continue. You know? They just moved on from it.
Right, because there was a little bit of hope there, right? Because it opened up with Hector in the hospital, and then the whole time you're thinking, okay, well, when they get back to it, it's going to be seconds after. But no, sure shit, we never get to see how that progressed. Like maybe Howard was just like, well, okay. Just like, oh, I think I'm going to go home, take a bubble bath, and catch myself some Z's. And then just like went home and went to sleep or something.
Jimmy is very sprightly for the hour, by the way. I love using that phrase. I just wanted to say that. And
well, he's re-energized, right? Because he has Hamlin's sad feelings to fill his
to feast off of.
Yeah, to feast off of. So he's like ready to go.
Right.
But Kim seems kind of perplexed by his behavior because she's like, dude, you can chill out and take some time to process what exactly is going on. And Jimmy's like, nope, no time.
Yeah, well, I thought, and I'm still thinking that, the whole way Kim reacted to his feel goodness in the one scene, that he's trying to avoid her, so he's just like getting out the door real early.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a good point.
I was probably wrong about that, though. I think he really was he was wanting to get out and start the day and get a job.
Or maybe he saw that as like his opportunity to start over of sorts, right? Because like he kind of, he no longer holds the burden of his brother, and then he also kind of in a way vanquished his enemy.
Right.
Right? So it's just time to start over. Get going. Get the show on the road.
That's right. That's right.
The Jimmy McGill show. Better call Jimmy McGill. We move into picking up with Nacho's dad, Manuel.
Nacho's dad in the big truck.
Yeah. Apparently Nacho is Batman. Why would he what? He's just standing there in the dark. What the fuck is that all about?
I have a feeling that I'm going to say this a lot more this season than in previous seasons because it's more dramatic that way.
Yeah. Right?
I'm seeing that happen a lot. I'm seeing a lot of the same camera angles. They have this infatuation with cars driving up to the camera in this episode. It happens like 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some other things that I was like, wow, that's really good timing when like later on when Jimmy and Kim are making out on the couch, a fish just happens to swim in front of the camera right before it goes on. And then there's like another time as they pan through past the fish tank again, it like blubs. It's like bloop.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, I'm like, good. That fish tank has perfect comedic timing.
All I was thinking was how many times did they do that take?
Right.
And how happy was Bob Odenkirk to have to make out with Kim, to make out with Ray Seahorn over and over again until the fish swims into frame.
Right. But back to Nacho. So he's Batman and he's waiting in the dark for reasons. and Manuel comes in kind of intense. Doesn't even want to talk or look at him.
Well, he did throw him out of his house the last time they talked.
Yeah, I know, but I just feel that the acting was like super good because it was like
no, totally. I noted that. I even said like Okay, I didn't write it down, but yeah, I noted that like the whole intensity and the ignoring for purpose and stuff was like it was real. I don't know. That was a really good job. Totally.
Right. Totally. I also wrote, those are some crisp dollar bills. When he picks them up, they're very crinkly. Right. I find it weird that an auto mechanic shop wouldn't have any like soft crinkled dollar bills. They were all like super crisp. And when he hit the table with them, it was like opening a new pack of paper. It was just like,
I'll refer to my previous comment. It's more dramatic that way. And isn't it illegal to use actual currency in
yes, it is
in TV shows and stuff?
Yeah, there's a company that actually their whole thing is that they make fake Hollywood money. They're like certified through the government.
I was going to say it would be kind of interesting if there was a printer that existed that you could use for counterfeit money. More foreshadowing.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, it was good. So it's kind of a good moment there where the dad insists that Nacho takes the money. Nacho takes the money, and he begins to walk out. And I kind of chuckled a little bit because they're obviously not on speaking terms, even though like Nacho's trying to prod his father to discuss this with him, because he even tells him like nobody's coming for the money, and his dad just stands there until he takes it anyway. And I like it when, like I noticed when his Michael Mando's acting cracks me up because when his dad called out and he's like, "Mijo," now I like it that like the face I got from Nacho, who's now like, the focus of the frame, it was almost as if he was now annoyed that his dad was calling to him. Like almost like it was like another day, like where you're like, "Hey, I'm going to go ride my bike with my friends." And then as you get to the door and your mom's like, like
wear a jacket. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, "Oh, okay." You know what I mean? like he takes like that deep, like, and I know there's probably some relief there because he's probably like, oh my God, what is he going to say? But the way it came off to me at first was like, it was like almost he had that like annoyance that a child has with their parents when they call for him one last time when they're on their way to do something.
Stop momming me, mom.
And I'd like to think, right. I'd like to think that's what they were going for, because if so, I think that was great, subtle humor.
Yeah, totally.
But if it wasn't what they were going for, then I totally misinterpreted it. So everybody out there on Twitter and Facebook and on the website and on TV Time, we're on TV Time. We forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
TV Time. It's been a year and a half. You folks out on TV Time, please let us know. We check all that shit, and you'll make it in a preview episode if your comment's good enough, or even just there usually. So but what do you think? As Manuel called out to Nacho, was Nacho kind of more annoyed in like a childish fashion, or was he more nervous about what his dad was actually gonna hit him with when he responded? But then Manuel brings up a good point. When is this gonna end for you? Which is something very, very fatherly, and I enjoyed that little bit.
That was when I really kind of was like, man, this is a really good scene. Honestly, like I like that. I didn't want them to end with them not speaking and he just walks out. I like the fact that he still pulls out that dad moment and he's like, well, when's it over for you, dude? Like, when do I get my son back? Kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Heavy.
It's pretty heavy. It's a heavy relationship that's headed south quickly.
Indeed.
I've been there. I've been there with my dad.
When you were running drugs for Hector?
Yeah, well, it wasn't Hector Salamanca, but I was definitely running drugs through his shop once.
Oh.
Never do that.
Well, watch your dad's shop get raided tomorrow because of that. Then you have to explain to your dad what the fuck you're talking about. Next scene, Jimmy's on his way to his interview with the printing company. I love how his car bottomed out as he entered the parking garage.
Of course, because his esteem is bottoming out.
It's the metaphor that just keeps going. And
so is the hair thing. I like how he pulls like he's got a little strand of hair. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh.
Jimmy knows his printers, notably from his time in the mailroom.
Yeah.
And it
great writing on that, because I wouldn't think about that. That like, he's spent so much time in these shithole jobs. He's dealt with these printers, and he knows how vital they are to the success of a business. Totally.
And for a while there, I couldn't tell if Jimmy was being an asshole or trying to be charmingly flippant.
I think I didn't pick up on that at all. I think he was he was trying to sell himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, just the way that he answers some things when they were talking about children, when he was looking at the wall of junk, and he's like, yeah, you know, kids these days, they're all with their hacky sack and video games. And I think even back then, probably hacky sack wasn't that big of a deal, or at least in Chicago it wasn't.
No.
Like, that's more of like an early 90s thing, I think.
But
so it was like he was intentionally trying to sound hip in an ironic fashion.
But
you know?
I can't speak to the culture in Albuquerque in that time period.
That's true.
I bet there was a
true.
lot of hacky sacking going on.
Yeah.
Out in that desert.
It's like when they said, you know, counterfeiting. Somebody used it before. It was such a good printer that people were using it to make counterfeit $5 bills. And I don't remember his exact words, but the way he responded to that, I couldn't tell if a light went off in his head or if he was trying to appeal to the...
No, I absolutely took that as he used that printer to counterfeit $5 bills back in Chicago.
Oh, so it like struck a nerve?
Yeah, not even struck it just jogged the memory. And he was trying to like, you know how you have that reaction and your body tells you like do a nonverbal communication to show that you know what you're talking about, and he's like fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to give it away that I know what you're talking about. Like,
right.
I was there. I was the one counterfeiting the $5 bills.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good interpretation. That's probably way more correct. Because the whole time it's like I saw him going to an interview for like a copier salesman as he's just looking for something to occupy his time. Like, I didn't think he was looking for an actual job. So, you know, he was just kind of like in a weird mode where like he was kind of going through the motions, and his natural response to a lot of stuff is just to kind of like, oh, ain't that a thing? That is.
I don't know. I don't know. I thought it came off to me as though he was actually looking for a job.
Okay.
I think he was really trying to get a position and kind of case the place.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't get the case. I did you pick up on that first when he looked at the Hummel figurine that he was actually kind of casing it? I thought he was just feeling remorseful for what he did to good old Irene. Because he even says he's like,
I agree. I
he
think
even mentions.
I think he was. It hit him like, oh man, poor Irene, which we said many times, poor Irene. And then he realized, oh, you know, I fucked her over, which is confirmed, foreshadowing again later in the episode. Right. But yeah, because I was thinking, you know, the Alpine Shepherd boy, but that's what feeling I got was, you know, oh man, Irene, like I kind of want to make up amends with Irene.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying he was casing the place with the intent to no, he wasn't. I'm gonna retract that statement. He didn't go in there looking to rip them off. He went in there just to interview for a job.
Ah, gotcha. I thought he was like thinking that he was gonna like steal the doll for Irene or something.
Well, yeah, now absolutely he is. I think that's where that's going. But that wasn't his intent. Going, he didn't know they had the figurine when he went there.
Right.
It was one of those like, oh, well, this is convenient.
Oh. Yeah, just right place, right time kind of deal. Like,
exactly.
Ain't that some shit? Like an opportunist.
Yeah, totally.
He was being an opportunist. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I think now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably why he turned the job down. Once he saw the figurine, he starts concocting this plan. Like, I'm going to get this for Irene. He's going to have Mike do it. We'll get to that later. So then he's like, well, I can't work for these guys now. I'm about to rob them. You know?
Ah, nice.
So I want to make this impression on them. Like, I'm this crazy salesman and then I'm going to leave thinking like, I never want to see these guys again. You know?
Nice. You know what, Dave? I guess I didn't even put that all together, but that puts what happens next into like a better context for me. Because, you know, first off, they kind of give him the whole like, oh, well, you know, in not so many words, like, oh, well, we'll call you if we're interested. Which, by the way, walking out of an interview is the worst fucking feeling in the world.
Yes.
It is the worst fucking thing in the world because you never know where you stand. Well, a lot of times you don't know where you stand, and a lot of times it's usually pretty obvious that you're not their guy.
Right.
But
Don't call us, we'll call you. Yeah.
right. And then Jimmy goes back in and sells himself to them to show that he can do it.
Right.
And then he scoffs in their face because they're basically idiots for hiring him, which a lot of that doesn't hold water. Well, I guess he brings up background checks, but he's like, you don't even know who I am. It's like, well, yeah, you'd be a new hire, so they probably don't know who you are. But that's, if he's going to steal that shit for Irene, then do you think it's kind of runs parallel to like what Mike was doing, like putting a face to the name, to the actions, like, and so like
what Jimmy's what Jimmy's doing is what Lydia thinks of Mike's actions. Mm-hmm. Because she thinks that showing your face is a bad thing,
right?
Or Mike is like, no, I'm legitimizing a fucking paycheck, which we nailed on Preview of the Prior.
Yeah,
and yeah, so I think, but I don't know if Jimmy thought that far into it. I think he was just like, you know what? I'm not taking this job. I'm going to mess with these guys a little bit. I'm going to show them that I can sell because that's what I do. And that is what he does. He's totally right about the whole speech that lawyers are salesmen.
Right.
And then he calls them suckers to their face.
Right.
But I mean, it's just, I don't know. Maybe he wants to leave a certain, I don't know. I don't know if he thought that far through. That's
yeah, it was just, it was just, I guess I was just trying to get the character's motivation, which again, those of you out there listening, you guys are often better at putting this into words than Dave and I.
Yes.
But, you're right. So, okay. So he goes in, sells himself, and then scoffs at him when they're like, yeah, you're hired. And he's like, idiots, pretty much.
Right.
Like that was his, like, suckers. And then at that moment, I was like, oh, well, obviously he realized that being in the law is kind of his meal ticket. So he's just going to go back to that. But then no, he goes out in the car, out to the car in the parking lot. And then he makes another phone call for his next interview, which is just an equally shittier,
right,
or an equally shitty
sales position, basically, right? Wasn't it another sales job?
Yeah, or it was like some low-level manager, right? It wasn't like he was like, it wasn't like it was like an interview for CEO of Boeing aircraft or shit, you know? It was like another, which, you know, no offense to copy salesmen and people out there, you work for Xerox or whatever, hey, more power to you. I'm just saying, like it's not like it's a prestigious position to be running a Kinko's or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Umbrage,
you know
sir. I mean? Umbrage.
Like I'm just
that's going to lead to so many bad reviews from Kiko employees.
I'm just saying, like, look, like I run hotels for a living, right?
Yeah.
I'm the boss of my hotel. I am the man, right?
Yeah.
And even I would be like, as proud as I am and as much as I love doing what I do and as much as other people have this like romantic idea of what the fuck a hotel manager does, if somebody was like, well, you know, that's cool, you're the man there, but let's face it, it's not like you're like vice president of Chase Bank, I'd be like, yeah, well, you know, excellent point. You know what I mean? So it's like, while I do okay, and while you know, I have a little bit of authority and stuff like that, let's face it, my job, it's not like I'm fucking like governor or some shit, you know? So I guess that was basically my point, was it's not like it's like, I don't need to be a copy salesman because my next interview is for like CFO of fucking Whole Foods or something. Like, no, it's just like it's a parallel move to the job he just got and pissed them off, like told him to piss off. You know what I mean?
I think that's the level he's targeting. I'm sure all of his interviews are probably around that level because he feels like this is what I can get if I'm looking for a job. He's not sitting there going like, I'm qualified to be, you know, the next Colonel Sanders, CEO of KFC. Mm-hmm. He's just like, well, I can get an entry level sales position. You know,
gotcha.
That's what I can get.
All right.
And 2 notes on this scene. One is it's nice to see Uncle Frank in a straight role.
Yeah.
Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans. He always plays some creepy dude. The Neff, Mr. Neff. Mm-hmm. He always plays somebody creepy, and it's nice to see him just fucking be a normal person, even though he's a sucker, apparently. And there was another note that I had. He walked out. Oh, interesting that it's a copier sales place when the whole thing with Chuck was about shit that Jimmy did with a copier.
With the copier, yeah. That this ties in with. He knows how this shit works, man.
He does. He does.
from the mailroom to driving his brother to sabotaging his brother to now needing money because he's a lawyer, kind of. Like kind of.
Well, he's in between practices right now.
Right, yeah. Right.
He's got
right.
1 year suspension, you know.
Yeah. The next scene, my only notes are here, and it must not have been too notable. Mike gets a phone call, and I just put Mike's at a playground, and he answers his phone like a dick. Right? Doesn't he just answer his phone? He's like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
that's it, right? Like, it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. He's short.
Yeah, okay.
Well, even that voicemail later, when Jimmy calls him, I had to rewind it to see if that was Mike. Because it's so just like, yeah, I'm not here. Leave a message.
Right.
Which is why we want to get him on the podcast, because we want those kind of answers to our questions.
Yeah.
My notes.
By him.
Here's my notes on that whole scene. Kaylee swinging. Mike meeting. That's it.
Moving on. Okay, go.
Well, the next scene is the same scene.
Right.
Yeah, and I love I love his entrance into the building. When he scoffs at the bronze statue.
I wrote Mike's in a Mayan temple for some reason.
He's on the temple level from GoldenEye. He's probably got proximity mines and like the golden.
Oh yeah, he's ready to go. Slappers only. That's when it gets real.
Slappers only in the temple. That's right. One shot kill. Slappers only.
Right, yeah. Isn't that license to kill? License to kill, slappers only in the temple. Or the stacks. The stacks is a pretty good one, too. The stacks is where you started in the vent and you dropped down on the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
So that was always the best place to put a proximity mine because there was no way not to die.
It's an instant double respawn.
Yeah.
Like, respawn, exactly. Boom, respawn.
But either way, yeah, I just found that kind of funny. As I was like, did we go to Mexico? Like, did we go to Mexico 400 years ago?
I love that.
But no,
I love the showiness of the place, because my next note is that is a big ass table for two people.
Right? It was a power move, right?
It was like the original Batman when they're like using an intercom to talk to each other. Yeah, total power move. In the dark, everything's all dark and like golden bronze, and
yeah. And it's pretty much what we discussed in a preview with the prior. You know, Mike was giving a face to the name on the check, and Lydia was just kind of pissed that he was there.
Did not expect Lydia's reaction like that. I don't think we said that. I don't know if I said that Lydia was going to react that way.
I think we glossed over what we thought her reaction would be. I think we talked more about Mike's motivation for doing that.
So that was, when he's just like, what's up? And she's like, well, I'm looking for an explanation. You know, that was interesting.
And he pretty much threw all of her arguments back at her.
Right.
She was like, well, what if I were to say this did this? And he's like, well, I would just say the same thing.
When she says, what if I ask you to reconsider? I actually wrote that down. What if I ask you to reconsider? And he's like, well, I would ask you to do the same thing.
Right.
Like, I guess we're at an impasse here, and guess who's not going to change their plans? This guy.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's just a volley back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they didn't come to any real agreement, but at least they were both now familiar where the other stands.
Yeah, well, in typical organized crime fashion, that now it's on Gus. You know,
right?
You know, you have Gus's respect. I suggest you keep it. Meaning, if he's going to vouch for you can keep doing it. But if you fuck up with Gus, now you're fucking up with me.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Right.
But
So
it's just nice to be validated, officially validated that I was right. That Mike was just a cover story. Like the whole awesome scene from the previous episode was just a cover story to legitimize the paycheck.
Yep. Well done. I'll give you 2 points on that one. So now you're up 3-zip.
Sweet. Well, you have points too.
Yeah.
I just don't notice.
Oh, okay. I get those silent points.
Yeah, I'll start throwing them out there when I notice, because you had some good calls earlier.
Yeah. So the twins are finally at Hector's bed at the hospital.
The murder twins, please.
The murder twins. Sorry. The murder twins show up at Hector's bed at the hospital, and apparently, okay, so is the doctor that was there from Johns Hopkins was that a plant, or did it just really coincidentally some dude came in from Johns Hopkins Hospital?
No, I didn't. I was going to mention this earlier. When the mob doctor is inspecting, he inspects Hector, and then he has a conversation with Gus. He's like, dude, like Hector's getting really good care. Mm-hmm. Which I think we glossed over my favorite fucking line of the whole episode.
Okay, if it correlates to this, just bring us back.
Yeah, when the doctor says in the end, and he says that twice, so you know it's important. In the end, I can think of no better judgment of this man, and Gus is like, I decide what he deserves.
Yeah,
that's almost like I am the one who knocks. You know, it's a very very Breaking Bad Heisenberg. You know, I am the decider kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So, and he tells him like, so the doctor says he's getting really good care. You might get a little bit better at Johns Hopkins, which is obviously one of the premier hospitals. But I don't know. You know, it might not be. So then this doctor is Gus paid. I think it's Gus's grant. He gave the hospital to get the Johns Hopkins doctor. That's a real doctor, and Gus is the mysterious donor of the grant.
Yeah, you know what? You're 100% right. That's obviously what that is. I just didn't put that together, but that's the only way that can go. There's no real coincidences in this. So yeah, you're 100% there. I just didn't pick up on that for whatever reason. So.
And did you pick up on how the other doctor that was the previous doctor keeps glancing at the twins, and as soon as she's like, "Well, we can team up on this," he's like, "Nope, your case. I'm out." Like these guys scare the shit. These guys scare the shit out of me. I'm out of here.
Yeah, but he was also kind of like starstruck, right? Like he was kind of like because I've watched this episode twice now, and then I kind of feel like he was like, oh my God, somebody's from like John Hopkins. This is awesome. Like, do you need it? Like, hey, I'm your boy. You know, this is what I'm passionate about. You're like at the top of the league. You know, because she also was kind of like, no, like if I remember this correctly, she kind of gave him the impression like, no, I got this out of control, and then he's like, all right, well, I'll leave them because like he's showing deference to her, like because he was all like, no, I feel he was starstruck, like holy shit, somebody in my profession who's like one of the king shits is here, and then she doesn't want his help, and he's like, hey, you're the man, I'm out of here. But look, obviously you know where I work, but you are the woman. Like this is, you know what I mean?
I would agree with you, and I would give you a point if he didn't glance at the twins every time that was mentioned.
Yeah, I think he was just
that's
trying
that's the way I took that, because like you just said, nothing's an accident in this show. You know, and it seemed like a meaningful look. Like he looks over at these intimidating figures. Like I just don't want to be here. Like I have an excuse to get out of here. That's awesome.
All right,
maybe it's column, I noticed column A, column B, half a point.
Yeah, I know. I noticed the glances too, but I didn't take that as he was using it as an excuse to leave. I think it's just their presence was
sometimes when you're starstruck, you do glance over at the other people in the room, like, you know who this you know who this is? Like, do you guys get what I'm going through right here? Like this is the shit. You know?
Yeah,
that happens.
I guess
too.
I just took it as they're just generally menacing, so his attention keeps getting diverted.
Also very true.
You know, at one point he's super excited because there's an expert in his field there. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, these very intimidating gentlemen with like ridiculously pointy boots who don't say a single damn word, are
except to us when they talk to us on the podcast.
Right. Yeah, he was super. First off, Louis was very nice.
He was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he was super. Quick note for those of you who may not know, Louis and his brother got the job and never acted before.
No, his brother had not.
Yeah.
He had.
Yeah.
He had to coach.
Yeah, that's right.
He had to coach his brother through it. And it's a very awesome story of, man, like having the high standards and not, his brother wasn't good enough and he had to like get him into the mindset of a murder twin.
Yeah.
The intensity. Very cool.
Yeah. Way cool. Way cool. So that's what I took away from that scene. I love how pretty much the advice was, well, talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah. So the brain can
Right. And they all they all struggle because typically in this situation it would be loved ones and family, but even the folks that work for Hector hate his guts. So I thought it was really funny. The only thing they could think to talk to him about was the business, and then the generic, like, hey, you're looking good.
Yeah, well, because they don't have that, and that my note on that is speak to Hector. Super awkward, because it's like when you run into your coworker at a barbecue, you know, and you're like, well, I don't know you personally. I only know you through business, so we're just going to talk about business. Oh, and by the way, that's a nice shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, you know? Exactly. That's
kind of humid today, and those bratwursts taste pretty good. But you know, the next shipment will be in on time, and you know, the boss says everything's going great. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but that's also what is important to Hector too. So, in a way, that's a good thing because like Hector's life is running this business, and so maybe that would be the thing to get him to trigger him to get those synapses working again, as they say.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's what makes it great. They don't really have anything personally of note to say to Hector, but they do talk to him about the one thing that he probably gives a shit about,
right? Which
is the most impersonal thing probably to them,
right?
Plus the generic, like, oh, but you know, like, and
then Nacho's like, his like, what do you call that when he says like you're gonna get through this and you're gonna be stronger, but inside he's just like, God damn it, I don't want you to get through this.
Yeah.
swallowing that emotion. Right. That's a good job by Michael Mando on that one for sure.
Yeah. His you know, his words said one thing, but you know, his heart had its fingers crossed.
That's right.
That's what it was. Gus is sweeping the parking lot.
He's quite the hands-on boss, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to be.
He's always being shown sweeping, cleaning up, taking care of his own place. I know you're that kind of a boss. I've worked for people that are not.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, it's my wife's family in the small town that we're actually from. There was like one gas station 2 generations ago, and it happened to be owned by my wife's grandfather. Mm-hmm. And from the time he bought that after World War II until the day that he couldn't work there anymore when he got cancer, every morning, no matter what, rain or shine, he was sweeping the sidewalk.
There you go.
He was sweeping the parking lot of the gas station. And I asked my wife, and I'm like, well, what do you do in the winter? You know, because we get like crazy snows, and she'd be like, well, they'd plow it, and then he'd go sweep it. so that's a very old school thing, you know.
Which is fun, because I mean, when I was at CRC in Chicago, I was the one sweeping the sidewalks and shoveling the snow, and I was an unpaid intern.
Yeah, my wife and I.
Be goddamn, we own a boss, whatever, you know, pick up a shovel or a broom.
You know, my wife owns a business in Chicago. She sweeps the front of it every day. I sweep the little patch of sidewalk there if she doesn't. You know, it's just what you do when you're a business owner. You know,
yeah.
But
also, you don't have time for Lydia's bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He pretty much solved that the easiest way possible. Just get Mike a badge.
Yeah, give him a badge and stop calling me.
Right. I got better shit to do, like sweep up this foil.
Right.
That blew directly into my dustpan before I could sweep it. All right, big scene. Kim storms Hamlin's office.
Yeah, but first she pauses at the picture of Chuck. I really noted that. Because at first I was like, what the hell is she looking at? I didn't realize it was HHM at first. Mm-hmm. I was like, is this HHM? Then the picture of Chuck, I was like, because that kind of prepped her for the scene. You know?
Yeah.
She looked at the picture, then all of that came rushing in. And so that was like more fuel to the fire as she's running in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Hamlin starts making his offer, you know, gives her like the letter and the check and makes the offer like, oh, Jimmy can get whatever the fuck isn't burnt. Mm-hmm. he can pick out anything. You know, the garage is intact minus some water damage, but you know, if you find something, it's yours.
Well,
like, cool, bro.
I guess I found it interesting he's liquidating the estate.
Well, if he's the executor.
Yeah. But I guess you know it's not really a livable house. You can't flip it.
Right, exactly. Well, that's part of the liquidation, right? If you sell the property and you turn an asset into money, that's liquidation. So he's doing his job. He's basically just selling everything, and selling everything and getting the money for it, and it'll be up to him to divvy it up, which apparently is through some sort of bullshit scholarship committee. It's a big part of it.
Well, there wasn't an amount, right? He didn't say how much was the scholarship was founded with.
No, but what I got out of it is Kim saw the whole $5,000 thing right from the start, because it's just enough to sound like a ton of, pretty much it's just enough to sound like a ton of money, but it's nothing, especially compared to like the assets that Chuck apparently had.
He had literally received a $3 million check 5 days before.
Right. So it's like out of this, here's $5,000, and then it was under the pretense that the rest of the liquidation of shit would go into a scholarship fund. Like, hey, Jimmy could be on the board of directors on that. So he's not even running it. He just has like probably a one of the 10 votes of the board of directors for this scholarship fund that she even makes a good note of, like that he would never, like Chuck and never in a million years would give Jimmy that scholarship had that been in place prior. But like, oh, go ahead and sit on this bullshit. And, combined with the $5,000, Kim kind of loses it a bit.
Well, I wanted to note something before you get to that.
Yeah.
I noticed, because she says, what was this, $4,000? Because that's the standard amount. So it is a little more than the standard amount. And I don't know, I just that struck me, because it wasn't the minimum. It was almost like a little extra. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing, or
like he tried.
Yeah,
like that was Howard's idea of a goodwill gesture, was like, hey, typically we do 4. I'm just gonna go ahead and toss another grand on that stack.
Well, I don't know if I want to be like that flippant about it, but I don't know. I just noticed that it was more than usual, I guess, or it could just be the way it was written and not that thought into.
Right.
Sometimes we look too deep into things because we're an analysis podcast.
That's true. That is one of our worst habits. But she kind of lays into Hamlin.
Yeah, well, it hit me when they first started talking about rooting through the ashes, and then Kim's just like, well, he doesn't want it, and then that's when I started going like, ooh, where's Kim going with this? Like, okay, so she, my whole thing about her noticing Jimmy whistling was out right there, like that was the moment. Where I was like, okay, she doesn't think Jimmy was being an asshole. So you were right. 3 points for you.
Thank you, sir.
For the whole, maybe he went a little crazy because he's a little overwhelmed with the situation.
Yeah, and here's another thing I was thinking too is like, is Kim went there under her own volition, right? Because Jimmy seemed to not really care, and it's not like he gave, as far as we saw, he didn't give her any directive like, hey, if you don't got shit going on today, could you do me a favor, stop by Hamlin's office? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I didn't know what the meeting was about when she mentioned it, but when she's like, you're not going to the meeting, so she assumed that they were going together
gotcha,
the whole time, I think. Because they're a couple, so they're in this together.
Yeah. Right, I guess. I just took it as, like, I think she's aware of, like, he has that on the docket for the day. And then he's just like, no, like, Howard can call me. Like, he knows how to get a hold of me if he really needs to.
Right.
So she was just asking pretty much, because she asked him, like, what are you doing today? And he's like, oh, I want to be a mid-level manager for a regional copier company for whatever reason.
Right.
And she's like, wait a minute, wait, you're doing that instead of going to this meeting? And he's like, no, that's cool. Howard can call me. He knows how to get a hold of me.
Well, that's the thing about wills is need not be present to win.
That's true. That's true. You can send in your
redeem your ticket.
proof of purchase.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I like to think she went there under her own volition in an effort to make sure that Jimmy's taken care of. Like, I don't think she got any direction or even had plans to go with him, because it's not like she was that motivated in the morning, right?
Well, maybe that was the meaningful glance at Chuck's picture, was like, fuck you. All right, let's fucking do this. I'm going to lay into Howard.
Yeah.
Because she's obviously been stewing on this since the big confession, which she took umbrage with, as it were.
As it were.
Yeah.
The thought occurred to me, one of the notes I made was PFAB's body language during that whole thing. Well acted by him, because while she's berating him, it was totally like a child.
Yeah.
when you catch a child doing something and they don't know how to react, all they know is that they're in deep shit, like somebody's just pissed off at them, and they're like, so like they kind of like fidget their fingers, even though they're like trying to stand up straight and pay attention and give like respect to whoever's yelling, but they're like, I don't really know, like what do I do? I thought it was cool, but like I'm obviously not.
Well, and when the parent is like, "Why did you do that?" and the child really doesn't know, or like, I really didn't think your side of it. Like I was so self-involved with my own feelings.
Right. Yeah. And that carried through even when he said, what can I do to make it better?
Right. Yeah.
like a kid breaks an heirloom, like, I can glue it. Like, what can I do I can help you glue this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was very much like that.
Yeah, totally. That was all. I mean, excellent on Ray Seahorn for just like that super dramatic speech and just lacing into him. Yeah.
Commitment.
Like the eyes were getting red and watery, and like, I mean, they might not even been acting on freaking PFAB's part. Like because I've, having worked on film sets, I've encountered that sometimes, like, you see some people argue in a scene, and you're like, "Holy shit, is this person really fucking pissed off? Like, have we stopped acting?"
Yeah,
totally. Great performances all around on that one, I think.
Totally. Next scene, I just have Jimmy comes home. They totally do it.
I have Kim Filing, Jimmy Ford, no letter, make out, do it, Jimmy gets up.
Did it ever show if he brought home Thai or Mexican food?
It did show him bring food, but I don't know the carry-out boxes well enough to discern that.
Okay. Well, if anybody out there can figure out if he brought home Thai or Mexican food, let us know, because
that's chicken scratch. Kim Filing, Jimmy Food, no letter. Not Jimmy Ford. It was Jimmy Food. So he did have food.
Okay.
Well, he drives a Ford Esteem, so.
Right. Well, that's what I thought you were going. I'm like,
no, it's food.
Again? Like, okay.
I was watching this late at night.
Yeah.
So before we get to the next thing, what do you think's going to happen with the letter? Do you think he'll ever see the letter? What if the letter is a check for $8 million?
Oh my God, it'd be great if the letter turns out to be a check and he just tears it up.
That's one of those, because that's one of the, you've seen that happen in shows before, right? Where it's like, you don't think you're going to get anything, but I'm going to put it in this letter that I don't think you're not going to want to read it. So you will be rewarded if you swallow your pride and read the letter.
Well, maybe that's foreshadowed a little bit, where she's like, "Wait, what is this, Howard? One more screw you from beyond the grave?" Maybe Jimmy will see it that way too. Tear up the check, and then somewhere down the line, Howard will be like, "What the fuck is your problem? That was like millions of dollars because, like, look, the settlement or whatever, I only gave you like $5,000, but in that letter was some other legal document or whatever where somehow you're entitled to millions of dollars, and now you just messed all that up."
Yeah, it's like that. I was thinking of that. It's like a story, one of those parables where like the kid wanted a car for graduation or something, and the dad gave him like a book. And then he throws the book in his dad's face and storms out, but inside the book was the key to a car.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly.
One of those life lessons. So maybe that'd be interesting.
maybe the $5,000 was just legal mumbo jumbo type deal that they had to go through. In the envelope is the check for the real money.
No, it's probably a letter saying that I really did not care about you. I actually did care about you. One of those things.
Yeah.
Thinking that,
I don't know, because I'm gonna stick with he intentionally pushed him away. So he intentionally pushed him away by saying he never really cared for him that much, and so to me I feel it would be counterintuitive for him to. Well, maybe I guess if he was remorseful.
Yeah, I mean,
for doing that prior to.
Why would you need to? I mean, if it was to double down on what he said, that doesn't make any sense either.
That'd be awesome.
I have pushed you away, and by the way, go fuck yourself in the horse you rode in on in writing.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? Like Jimmy opens it up and all this says was, "Dear Jimmy, I meant that shit." Chuck.
reach for the stars.
Yeah. Just totally cold-hearted. That'd be so stone cold. All right, moving on. Jimmy's on primitive eBay looking for that Hummel figure.
I call it pre-bay.
Yeah, pre-bay. Nice. And he calls to offer Mike a job.
Yeah, he's looking at the Bavarian boy because I thought it might have been the Alpine Shepherd boy. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what it looked like. I apologize to our listeners.
Right.
But yeah, I know it's the Bavarian boy, and it's worth $8,000.
Are Hummel figurines a real thing, or is that something specifically made for Better Call Saul?
I'm on my computer. I can Google it right now.
Because I know there's like Precious Moments and all these other Precious Moments. Love Is, Snow Babies.
Oh, they're real as fuck.
Nintendo Amiibos.
The first three Hummels to pop up on Google Images are worth over $300. So that's a real thing.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, Hummel figurines.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start getting my mom
today.
I have to get my mom to collect those because she collects those ones with the faceless people. And I swear to God, those things fucking come alive at night and walk around her house. They're creepy as shit, man.
My mom collects. They're literally called Snow Babies.
Aww.
And they come out with a new set every Christmas, and they cost like $70 a figurine. And
I was just thinking, I call Snow Babies children born from cocaine addicts.
Oh, I was gonna go with like that's a pretty good racist name for a white person. It's like, what's up, Snow Baby? That's awesome. That's awesome. All right.
So, but my
Moving
thing,
on.
I did note he calls Mike, and is this for Irene? I think he's going to try and get him to steal that for Irene to make amends. I don't see a nefarious thing because, like, it could be interpreted if Irene gets this fucking $8,000 Hummel figurine, all the people, the whole plot line before where she had all the nice things and was getting new shit.
Well, yeah, and presumably it's something if it's worth $8,000, presumably it's a really rare one. So it's kind of like it's a grand gesture.
Yeah, I think he's going for a grand gesture for sure.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy McGill, he's a rapscallion with a heart of gold.
That's right. Kind of.
Rapscallion, by the way, a word not used enough in today's modern society.
Not nearly.
Moving on, Nacho and Arturo go to get the cocaine, and they're screwed out of a brick.
That's right. And they rolled up in a 442. And how do I know that? Because the camera was sitting there when the card pulled up to it for like the third time in the episode.
A what?
A 442.
A 442?
An Oldsmobile 442.
Man, that's like 442. That's like 30 something. That's awesome.
What?
Four times 2.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, that is what it isn't, like 4-barrel carb, 400 cubic inch, or is it the size of the engine? I can't remember what 442 means.
I don't know, dude. I don't know cars, and apparently I can't even do basic math.
I've always been a fan of the 442, so that is I think they're badass muscle cars personally.
Okay. Yeah. 32s. Awesome.
And if not,
All
listeners, change my mind.
Yeah, prove me wrong.
That's right.
Pretty much they're like, yo, Salamancas gets 6, and the whoever was on the other side of the table, I can't even think of their names now.
That was Victor, right?
It may have been. I started losing it in my notes, but let's just put it this way. The Salamanca Team Salamanca wanted their extra brick. Team Gus was like, well, you're obviously weakened because your big dog is in the hospital, so we're going to assert ourselves, give you 5, and now Team Salamanca had to show that they were still in charge by threatening to threatening to start a shootout.
Well, Nacho of all people, Nacho's the one that pulls the gun out.
Right.
Because we're expecting him not to, basically.
Right.
Like, he's really going to be the one that pulls out the muscle because he's trying to get out. But, sometimes when you're trying to get out, you act like you're not trying to get out.
Right.
Cover story.
I gotcha.
It's a cover story.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He does the whole, do you really want really want to do this. Nice casual badassery from Nacho. I didn't like the whole that's what I thought thing. after they give up the brick.
Yeah, I don't know, a little tropey, but I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
I didn't even write that down, so didn't notice it. But on a side note, 442, it derives from the 4-barrel carburetor, 4-speed manual transmission, and dual exhausts. 442.
And with a sum of 32. So that's nice.
Right.
That's nice.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it would be.
Feel free to cut out my previous attempt at that joke. It was better phrased the second time.
It would actually be a sum of 10 because sum means adding. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, whatever. Hi, I have a master's degree. I run.
I have no degree.
Yeah, I have
a vocational school certification.
I have a master's degree and run a multi-million-dollar hotel.
I'm self-employed with a vocational school certification.
MAF. All right, so they're walking out, kind of cock of the walk, thinking they're super awesome because they just, they stood their ground, man. They did Tio proud. They're like, yo, Salamanca still run this shit,
right?
And that's how you get a bag over the head.
That is my notes on that are bag Arturo.
Yeah,
bag Arturo.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about, man. Right? Why else would Jimmy in the desert a year or whatever down the line? Why else would he think that? Because that might be a calling card of Gus, right?
No, I think that it's. I'm not against you on that. He knows it's like has something to do with Gus. I'm against you on that. It's specifically related to Hector because Gus says in the next line, "I know it was you that did that."
Yeah.
So he wouldn't bag Jimmy for it if he knows that Nacho did it. It's got to be something else. It's got to be something else.
I think that's kind of like a calling card.
Oh, totally a calling card.
Gusto. So like
to your point that Jimmy knows it's Gus behind it. Yes.
Yeah, at some point, right? Like that's what I'm saying. This episode is all this is what goes back to that scene in Breaking Bad.
I'll give you half of that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take that. So my only other note, I have a couple notes on that. One, even watching somebody acting with a bag wrapped around their head with a zip tie is very anxiety inducing.
I absolutely agree. It's a great name for the episode now.
Anxiety inducing?
No, breathe.
Breathe, yeah.
Because Arturo can't.
Like I've been pretty, anybody that's ever heard me over the past 5 years talk about stuff, right? Like I don't really get, like, I can't get into horror movies because I'm always like, all right, well, it's a movie. This obviously isn't happening. Yes, it's enjoyable, but no, it's not scary.
Right.
Right. Oh, yeah, I get that gun standoff is intense, but it's obviously make-believe, so no, I'm not on the edge of my seat.
Unless you're Brandon Lee.
Right. This is... Then it's as real as it gets.
Two straight episodes with a reference to the Lee family, by the way.
Yeah. But this is one where watching that, I was actually wincing.
It's almost too. It was almost like it was too good. It was
too well done.
And a lot of it. Let's give props to the editors because those things. Having just shot, the last scene that I shot with the TV pilot I'm working on was somebody choking somebody with handcuffs. That takes a lot of editing to be believable because shooting it is not because it's safe. You have to be.
Right.
It has to be no risk. It's a stunt. So the editing of that, like it was done, it was smooth as shit.
Yeah,
like the close-ups on the face and the redness and that's makeup and
right.
And that totally got me too. And I was sitting there watching this, going like, Nacho, like go cut a hole in the mouth, do something. I thought. Before I go back to this thing real quick, but that's how I totally thought how it was going to end. I thought Gus and his crew was going to walk off, and Nacho was going to have the opportunity. Like I thought they were making a point. I did until that was my thought in the back of my head. Like, the way to calm my anxiety was that, okay, Nacho's going to get a moment. He's going to be able to save Arturo. Like, he'll be able to pop a hole in the bag. But then when they zoom out and there's two thugs there standing over him, I was like, oh, no, he can't. He's still...
right. He's got to watch it.
Yeah.
Which is something Gus did in Breaking Bad, too, right? He made Walter and Jess watch him execute somebody pretty viciously. My only other thought was... So, intense scene, like I said, is one of the few things when I watch, it made me reel back, right? But then I started dying laughing because when Gus said, "You are mine," it reminded me of Shang Tsung in the Mortal Kombat movie where he pretty much tells the fighters, like, really? He's like, it's the same cadence and everything where it's like, "Your soul is mine." Yeah. That's pretty much
get over here.
Like Gus was, and so I know that wasn't supposed to come off like that, but that made me die laughing.
You know what that was? That was just a cathartic release from the tension of the previous shot.
It may have been. It may have been, and then it just goes black into credits.
And I have to say goodbye to my favorite haircut of the whole show.
Your favorite haircut?
Yeah. Arturo's haircut.
Oh.
The shaved sides with the pull back.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
Classic Arturo.
Classic 90s middle school haircut there.
Totally. Totally. So, overall, great episode. I really liked it. Like I said, it's one of the few times where I was genuinely not
at ease.
Affected, I guess I would say, but like genuinely invested in the scene.
Yeah.
Because I could watch a lot of scenes and be like, and think to myself, man, that was so clever. That was so well done. Good on them. But the whole bag over the head deal kind of made me want to like escape the room almost.
And I just wanted to see Nacho go all Breaking Bag. Is that cricket still going? Is that cricket still going? Okay.
Did you write that in your notebook? How long have you been waiting to knock that one out?
2 seconds.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, awesome. Well,
it sounds like
real quick.
It sounds like one of those I thought about forever. No, most of these jokes tonight were off the top of the head. I rarely write jokes in my notes. Rarely. I do.
So clever.
All in all, good episode. We were wrong on some things, which is cool. And I think there's a couple of character things that, you know, like your exception with the way Nacho acted last episode. Like, as great as Kim's performance was, it kind of shocked me. But then again, if she's in love with Jimmy, then she's gonna take his side. You know, she's gonna see his side and stick up for him, and not see through his bullshit. I guess, which we thought that she was starting to do. But now it's almost like it's come the other way, where it's like, well, she's not doing that. She's trying to take care of her man.
Right. I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I mean, I think she can still stick up for him
and notice that Jimmy's being a little off.
Right. She can also help him shine his light, but also notice that the light is kind of dim a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, love and relationships are complex, Dave.
So is Howard going to kill himself now because he realizes how bad he felt about the whole thing with Chuck and Jimmy?
Man, I hope not, but it'll definitely be. What if it ruins him? What if it's just a mental block he can't get past and it ruins HHM forever?
If being a lawyer is being like the salesman and it's so much based on personal interactions, and now there's certain things that you're going to question in your interactions with people, it's going to affect your job.
Well, and especially since all this hits close to home, right? His former paralegal, Kim, right? His former partner, his former friend. Everything is actually rolling downhill towards Howard Hamlin, it seems.
Yeah, it's like Hamlin's Breaking Bad or kind of losing his shit.
Yeah, he kind of he's becoming the victim.
Yeah. Of his own myopic views on things, I guess, maybe. No, because the way he treated Jimmy isn't myopic. He sees right through Jimmy now.
So, well, you know what? That's something we could talk about on Preview with the Prior.
Yeah, totally.
that we'll have out before the next episode. If you haven't heard preview with the prior for this episode, it was kind of a funny discussion. Check it out. That should have been uploaded in the morning, Monday morning.
And if it wasn't, we're going to upload it anyway, just for people to listen to. It will get uploaded if it hasn't yet, but it has.
Awesome. Make sure to check out our interviews with celebs and general chat over on Nothing Important Podcast, nothingimportantpodcast.com. Check out Jeff and I on the Rick and Morty podcast, A Plummus Among Us. You can find that at nothingimportantpodcast.com as well.
The Rickest Rick and Morty podcast.
Yes.
Is that how you introduce it?
Exactly. The Rickest Rick and Morty podcast.
Right.
That's exactly how we introduce it every show. And of course, for episode 403, discussion and hopefully some more interviews with the cast and crew, please make sure to stay subscribed. And to us here at It's All Good, Man, Dave and I love doing it for you. Make sure to leave those reviews on iTunes. Make sure to check us out on Facebook or on Twitter at ISGM Podcasts. Make sure to check us out on TV Time. If you got comments, suggestions, ideas, or just anything in general, please make sure to send them our way. You know, I actually got a really good email from one of our listeners, too, that you and I will be discussing on the next preview with a prior. So you can even email us, which is now the old-fashioned way to do shit, apparently. You can. It used to be snail mail. You know, you can do it the old-fashioned way, but now the old-fashioned way is just regular email. You can do that at host@itsallgoodman.com or host@nothingimportantpodcast or nothingimportantpodcast@gmail. Long story short, any way you look at it, you can get a hold of us. Thank you for listening. Spread the word. Keep watching Better Call Saul. And Dave?
Call us idiots. Call us geniuses. Whatever. Just call us.
It's all good, man.